Hello everyone, Chuck again from Cloud9 Advisors. I wanted to talk about contracts, all sorts of IT services and solutions related contracts. I have to read these contracts on a daily basis. I know contracts are boring, I get it. I have to deal with them all the time, but it is pretty important. It's the last step in the process. You've gone through all of this time and effort and work and meetings, going back and forth on pricing, going back and forth on the actual design of the solution, etc., etc. And now we're at the final stage and we got to look at those contracts. Make sure you don't rush through those contracts, whatever you do. You want to make sure that the contract is on equal footing. A lot of the times they'll be leaning in the provider's favor with certain things, leaning in your favor with other things. I wanted to share a few things to look out for. Offline references, probably better said as off-contract references. These are the URLs that you see in the contract, and they refer to a different set of terms and conditions for a different or specific clause. Most oftentimes with service level agreements, also with rental agreements, if whatever service and solution that you're looking at has any sort of equipment, purchase agreements, things like that. Make sure those aren't in there. They can change those things at any time, whenever they want. We want to get rid of those. Let's make sure that those are in the contract, negotiated and signed for, agreed to under that signature. The data protection, you want to look at some of the services where your data is going to be with a provider. Well, how will your data be treated at the end of the contract? Or rather, when you decide to terminate and go with another provider, how is your data treated at the end? Breach language doesn't apply to all of the services and solutions that Cloud9 covers, but in some cases, again, when your data is with another provider, sometimes in software as a service type solutions, and then perhaps other types of cloud solutions as well. When your data is with them, what happens if they get hacked or if there's a security breach of some sort? And then by some chance, that hacker, that breach is able to reach your data. Now, a lot of these providers, there are so many layers of protections against things like that. And they're going to say that, well, they can't get to you through us. They could get to you through you. And that can certainly be true in a lot of cases, but sometimes it isn't. So we want to look at that, dig a little deeper into the breach language and make sure that you're protected. Termination language, this one's a little tricky and often sensitive for usually both parties, but usually the termination language is going to be almost always in the favor of the provider, and oftentimes that's for pretty good reason. We want to take a deep dive look at that and look into some of those details. Price protection, make sure you insist and make sure it's written in fixed price for the length of the term. None of this, we have the right to increase our prices from 3 to 10% annually. None of that crap. That's not going to fly. Make sure that's gone. Fix the price. A lot of providers are good at that. Some providers, maybe not so much. Some clauses that you won't really find in a lot of these contracts are things like elasticity, business downturn, which are kind of similar but kind of different. And another one, business divestiture. There's lots of details around those things, but depending on your situation, those might be clauses we want to look at. Auto renewal, that's always a big one. That is standard fare with just about every contract for every solution with every vendor that Cloud9 deals with. It's very common. It's in, like I said, just about every one of those agreements that I have to read on a daily basis. Typically, the standard is almost always going to be a 12-month auto renewal, but there are some cases, there are some instances and some providers where they might slip in something else, perhaps some language like for the original term, auto renew for the original term, little things like that. So you want to watch out for those as well. Very rarely with a lot of providers are you going to see auto renew month to month, or not have an auto renew clause at all, and it just automatically goes month to month. You're going to have to push really hard for it to be month to month, and there might be some give and take on that. But if you think about it, who really runs their business strictly on a month to month basis? Everyone's looking quarterly, everyone's looking half year, full year, and even beyond. So it kind of makes sense. I usually encourage my clients, 12 months is fine. Just make sure it's only 12 months and not for a full term renewal.